Let's bring it a little closer to home now. Rick and Conrad Thompson talked to Rick's daughter, Ashley, better known as Charlotte Flair, the best female performer in wrestling history. This is very early in Charlotte's career. It's Rick and Conrad with Charlotte Flair.
Teresa Richards on Twitter wrote in, you started wrestling fairly recently. What was the tipping point that led to you pursuing a career in wrestling?
Well, Four Horsemen Hall of Fame induction at
Miami,
2.5 months, prior to me starting. The opportunity came up, and I was just personal training. I didn't have much going on, and I was like, Dad, should I do this? And Reed was like, you got to do it. So I was like, all right. There every single day was about, do I do it? Do I not? Do I do it? And then the day I started in Tampa, I just never looked back.
So when you were at the Hall of Fame induction, does somebody from the WWE approach you and make the pitch, or does it just come up in casual conversation, or what does that look like?
We were, I think, staying at the Marriott. We were at the hotel restaurant. It was me, my dad, Reed, Johnny Laurinaitis, and the funny thing is I think the Bella twins were actually in the hotel restaurant as well. And Laurinaitis was like, why aren't you doing this? And I was like, I don't know. It's not something I ever thought about, dreamed about. And he was like, why not? And then, of course, Reed was poking at me like, oh, my gosh, you'd be so great at this. We could be doing it together. And I just looked at my dad, and he was like, okay, but if you're going to do it, just make sure you put your whole heart into it. And a lot of hard work and time and goes into this. And, he knew at the time that I was married. So he was just like, this is going to be a test. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and at that time, just to clarify to people, John was the head of talent relations. Now, John is semi-backed out of that position, and Mark Carano handles that now. But and I broke John Laurinaitis in the business. So the irony of him asking Ashley, who he's known forever, just as he knew Reed forever, was pretty cool. And then she walked away and came back, and I knew that it clicked. I just wasn't sure if she understood the commitment and moving away from home. Not that she needed to be stuck at home. I didn't mean that, but it's a big move. It's a change in lifestyle. She was making a lot of money, but she was working 49 or 50 hours a week for it. And she took a pay cut, and because everybody starts out, everybody thinks you get rich when you sign with WWE. It's not the way it is. You've got to earn your stripes, and she took a pay cut and moved there, and never looked back. It's been a great ride for me, I know. So, and she's been through so much, and I'm just extremely proud of her. The world knows that, and how many times in life it has happened that I'm getting to walk out to the ring with my daughter on a weekly basis now, and for as long as it happens. But it just doesn't happen like that in this business. And she won the championship in record time. I'm not even sure, Ashley, you can correct me, but I would venture to say you hadn't had 100 matches prior to coming up to Raw, had you?
Probably around 100.
Around 100, but never wrestled an indie show, just, wrestling the same people. So to come along and been wrestling the same people for, almost 3 years, and then to come up and then hit the roster and take off like that is almost unheard of. The only person I've ever seen catch on to the business, I've said it before, and I said it on the podcast, to catch on to our business that fast is Kurt Angle. And Kurt was already a great Olympic wrestler, but it's still being an Olympic wrestler and being a pro wrestler are two different things. So, I'm amazed by it, and I've seen a lot of people come along.
Well, Rick, I know it's early in the morning, but you mistakenly called our guest Charlotte Ashley. So I just want to correct that we're actually talking to Charlotte now.
I'm sorry.
Charlotte, tell us a little bit about what was more challenging for you, like the change of life from going from living in North Carolina to getting moved down to NXT and uprooting your life and training for wrestling every day and going from personal training to there, or then the second jump from NXT to main roster. What was more of an adjustment for you?
Well, first of all, I've lived in North Carolina my entire life. So I could kind of say I was kind of a small-town girl just because I only lived in Charlotte, Boone, and Raleigh prior to moving to Tampa. And then getting to Tampa, just living somewhere else was an adjustment. But I had people around me that I'd known my whole life. You know, Joe Gomez was one who is a Tampa native, and he helped me a lot. Obviously, I had known Dusty my whole life, which really didn't help getting to developmental because he'd make the most ridiculous comments. I'm like, Dusty, you're really not helping me here if you want the talent to like me. And then obviously Ricky Steamboat was a coach at the time as well, and Steamboat had known me my whole life, and I had grown up with Richie, and Richie was actually, I think, the champ at the time when I got there, or had just dropped the title. But no, that was an adjustment, and then it just, as you know, and FCW was growing, and then it grew to NXT, and then, you know, it became what it is today, another brand, and then debuting on the main roster, I just kind of grew with the product, to be honest, as a person. But I think the bigger adjustment now is I'm recognized everywhere. Before, I'd always been recognized because I traveled with my dad, so it wasn't like, oh, instead of, you know, someone asking me to take the picture, it's like, oh, can you get in the picture? It's crazy. I know. And sometimes I really have not, because I started a little over 3.5 years ago, and I really haven't had a break since then, so I haven't really taken it all in. Before talking to you guys this morning, I had some radio interviews to promote the move to SmackDown to USA, and they were kind of chronologically going over my run, you know, talking about Rookie of the Year for PWI, and then the NXT Championship, and then the NXT Tours, and then debuting in the Divas Championship, and then Muscle and Fitness. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about some of that stuff. Yeah, because it's just happening so fast.
Right.
Like next week I'm going to India, and it's just crazy.
Now,
It's like the trademark with the man trademark, you know. After a excruciating weekend, you know, there was something that was going on with Taylor Swift and the man and all that, and I said, I forgot, some guy from TMZ hit me in LA, and I just went, you know, you have no idea how hard I've worked for that label. And if I own the trademark to be the man, if I own that trademark, and they use that trademark to create the man, which has been my label my entire career. I thought it up. It's mine. I own it. And I'm one of the few guys that owns their intellectual property. You know, I mean, Steve doesn't own Stone Cold, believe it or not. And I don't think it's right. He should be able to have it. But when they get a hold of it, they're going to keep it. They have their reasons. And I'm not the one making those calls. But I own my stuff. But the ultimate insult was, and whoever was clever enough, you know, first of all, I want to say the girls had a phenomenal match last night, Becky and Charlotte. My God. So proud of both of them. I mean, they tore it up last night. And I mean, they are going to make it hard for the guys and keep pushing the guys to be equally as good, because they're as good in that match with as good a match as you're going to see anywhere. And intensity, to me, intensity has always been, you know, it's not so much the wrestling, it's the combativeness, it's the physicality, it's the expressions, it's knowing that everybody means business. And they did, and man, they tore it down. So kudos to them. But I'm also, in my opinion, the finish, they chose, could have gone either way. They chose to sell merchandise rather than sell athleticism, because those two, there's no comparison. And I'm actually surprised that Fox because Fox is a channel that airs baseball and sports and football and everything else, right? That they would let the SmackDown title get beat up, but they don't control the merchandise. By beat up, I mean get beat. So it was a great match, but that's my take on that. And by the way, they're selling merchandise they don't own. Just because I wanted to be this right. As I'm sitting here, I pull this up. They have 7 applications to this day, WWE, as we speak, for the trademark of the man. They still can't get it. That's how much it was mine.
Well, Nate, I gotta ask. I mean, they're giving Becky Lynch your trademark. Why didn't they call her Stone Cold? Why didn't they call her The Game? Why didn't they,
Because Hunter told me that Stone Cold was trademarked. I said, why don't you call her The Game? He said, that's trademark too. I said, so is the man. He said, no, it's not. To be the man and the man is 2 different things. I swear to God.
It's not. No, it's not.
Please. It's old news now. It's behind us. But let's get the facts straight. They still don't own it. And if I get a chance and I get cleared legally, I'm going to go back and get it. I was doing the Steve Austin show, and Kevin Owens' name came up. He's another kid who it's so damn respectful. And Steve said that Kevin reached out to him and said, do you mind if I borrow the stunner? Because there was a time in the business, I should trademark this. There was a time in the business when you would ask someone if you could use their figure, like people would say to me, do you care if I use the figure 4 in my match? No, please. You're not going to beat anybody with it, but feel free to use it.
Neither did you.
And I gave it to a lot of people, but people, that's the kind of respect they'd have. Or they'd come to Sean and say, "Can you use a super kick?" In as far as the company with my trademark, they didn't even ask me to borrow my finish. They just stole my trademark and took my finish. So forget about using my finish. They just used my trademark without permission. That's where Sasha Banks comes into my life. She respects me. And I mean, I can't tell you that the word respect, it means more than anything, especially as you get older. You know what I mean? It's so easy to be pushed aside, forgotten. You know what I mean? But for me to still be here, have a show like this with you, and have respect and get texts and say, hey, Nate, be strong. I mean, I got that from Shayna Baszler. I got it from Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley. I mean, all of them. You find out who are your friends and who respects you when things are up, when things are down. Does that make sense?
I am Mark Madden. Welcome to Woo Nation Uncensored, and we're opening today's program with some big news. The battle is over. The war has been won. Becky Lynch is no longer the man. WWE isn't even using it. She is now Big Time Bex. So let's welcome to the program the 16-time world champ, the one and only man. He is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Nate, we always knew it was going to come to this. We always knew who the winner was going to be, but it's all over.
It is. And in closing, because I'm so tired of going over it, it's not even, let's say hypothetically, the number 1 selling t-shirt for 2 years in a $1 billion company. So let's just say they made $30 million, right? I could find out, but it's not worth it. Ultimately, the people that did that, to me, need to look in the mirror and know that I worked my whole career for that to belong to my daughter or my son. They got to look at themselves in the mirror. They got to say to themselves, boy, he took something that he worked his whole life, his ass off for every day, made a joke of it, and gave it away. That's all I can say anymore.
The proof is in the pudding. Becky Lynch is now Big Time Bex, and Ric Flair, moving forward once and forever, is the man now.
I'm silenced on the issue. No more.
Okay, good. Well, we wrapped it up, and the result is what was hoped for. At the very end there, we couldn't help but play a clip of Rick talking about the man being his trademark. We wanted to get that back out there because God knows he's so shy about bringing it up himself.